It's the year 2015, and the New England Patriots have won another Super Bowl, thanks to Pete Carroll, who made one of the worst calls in NFL history. I mean, just look at Richard Sherman's face. I couldn't believe it either. But heading into the new season, there were a few teams who were expected to win the Super Bowl, like the Patriots, Packers, Steelers, and Broncos, who all finished at the top of their division. But there was a team who was 7-8 that would shock the entire world, and it's the Carolina Panthers. During that 7-8 season, the main issue was the defense, who gave up 30-plus points in 6 of their 8 losses. They also had the 21st worst defense in the league, but it wasn't all on them. Cam Newton also struggled, as he completed 58% of his passes and threw 18 touchdowns, but had 12 interceptions as well. Heading into the 2015 NFL Draft, they tried to change that, as they selected Shaq Thompson out of Washington. Thompson was a versatile player as he played both outside and inside linebacker, and would make a good trio of Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis. They also traded to get Devin Funchess in the second round, a 6'4" receiver out of Michigan who had over 700 yards his final season. But that wasn't the only addition they made, as they signed 2 key free agents, wide receiver Ted Ginn, who was mainly known for his ability to return kicks. In 2014, Ginn only had 190 total receiving yards, so many people questioned his signing. Then you have safety Kurt Coleman, who would both end up being huge pieces for them. These were the 3 biggest needs for the Panthers, at safety, wide receiver, and linebacker. Heading into training camp, that was a moment that changed the Carolina Panthers forever. I'm sure we all seen the infamous picture of Cam Newton treating Josh Norman as he was a little kid. I mean, Cam was an absolute menace. He's even smiling while doing it. But little did everyone know, those two would end up having the best season of their careers. Now, let's look at their schedule. By all means, this wasn't the hardest schedule in the league, but it wasn't the easiest. 6 of the teams they played had a winning record that previous season, and that includes the Seattle Seahawks, who were in the Super Bowl. You would think they would finish maybe 8-8 or 9-7, but that wasn't the case. From the very first game they had against the Jaguars, the defense showed their presence, as they had 2 key interceptions which were made by Thomas Davis and Josh Norman. The Carolina Panthers defense quickly became one of the best defenses in the league, as they held opposing teams under 20 points 8 times. They ended up winning their first 4 games, but it was a tough 4-game stretch after to prove that the Panthers were the real deal. They had to face the Seahawks, Eagles, Colts, and Packers, who were all good teams. But they passed that test, as Jonathan Stewart, who's one of the most underrated players in Panthers history, ran all over those teams. The defense also continued to show up, as they had a total of 5 interceptions in that span. They were led by Josh Norman, Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, and Kurt Coleman. Norman, who was arguably the best cornerback in the league that season, was a first-team All-Pro. He had 4 interceptions that season, and 2 were returned for touchdowns. But there were 2 more All-Pros on their defense, Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis. They combined for 8 picks and 223 tackles, which easily made them the best linebacker duo in the league. But that wasn't the only reason why that team was so good. We all know what Cam Newton did that season. Heading into the second half of the season, it was simply Cam Newton dominating the entire league, with a mediocre receiving corps besides Greg Olsen. Newton had the best season of his career, as he passed for over 3,800 yards and 35 touchdowns. He also rushed for over 600 yards and 10 touchdowns, which earned him the NFL MVP award. No NFL quarterbacks passed for 30 touchdowns and rushed for 10 more in a single season, besides Cam in 2015. Whether you hate the Panthers or Cam Newton, we have to admit, he brought so much attention to the league and the Panthers organization. I mean, everyone's tuned in to watch him because of what he was doing. One of the funniest moments of that season was when Cam Newton scored a touchdown against the Tennessee Titans and immediately danced. Avery Williamson went to confront him, but Cam Newton danced right in his face again. Cam continued to dominate, and the Panthers would end up having a historic season, as they finished 14-1 during the regular season. This team had all the momentum heading into the playoffs. Their first game was against the Seahawks in the divisional round. It was already 14-0 in the first quarter, thanks to a Luke Kuechly pick 6. The Panthers defense forced 3 interceptions, and the game got out of hand pretty quick. The score was 31-7 at one point, but the Seahawks tried to make a comeback, but it wasn't enough, as the final score was 31-24. The next game was versus the Arizona Cardinals, who many considered the best team in the NFC. They had a 13-3 record and had one of the best offenses in the league. But yet again, this defense dominated, as they forced Carson Palmer to throw 4 picks, and one was for a touchdown, and you probably know by who. Luke Kuechly had yet another pick 6. The final score was 49-15. It was now the Carolina Panthers versus the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl. I'm gonna be honest here, I already knew who was gonna win this game, based on one fact. This was Peyton Manning's last year, and you really think the NFL was going to let him lose? The Panthers had the best scoring offense in the league with a 31 points per game average, but yet they were held to the lowest amount of points all season. In the first quarter, it was already 10-0, as Von Miller had a strip sack for a touchdown. But even with all that, the Panthers still had a chance. They were down 6 with 4 minutes left, but one of the most controversial plays happened in Super Bowl history. Cam was stripped yet again as the ball landed right in front of him. He had the chance to dive on it, but he didn't, and that was the ball game. Cam was sacked 6 times and was 18 for 41 with 1 interception. The magic the Panthers had all season had finally ended as they lost 24-10. Even though they lost in the Super Bowl, this was still a historic season by the Carolina Panthers, and especially by Cam Newton.